This is the CineSnob podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 197 of the CineSnob podcast. I am Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn Duran.
So how was everyone's week? A little less scary than last week, I assume, for everyone.
No
maybe?
insurrections this week, thankfully.
Cody, are you wearing a Camp Kill Yourself shirt?
I am.
Wow. Is it 2002?
You know, CKY was my favorite band as a teenager and through most of my life. So, yeah.
What was their association with Jackass?
So, the drummer of CKY is Bam Margera's brother.
That's right.
Okay.
So they got lumped in. So pre-Jackass, did you ever watch the CKY videos?
No, I never. I know what you're talking about, but yeah.
It was basically a precursor to Jackass. So it was like Johnny Knoxville had his group of people, and then they merged with the CKY people, which was Bam Margera, Ryan Dunn, Brandon DiCamillo was in there, and so basically it's the same idea. They're just skateboarding, doing dumb shit, and pranks and stuff like that. So anyway, CKY got lumped in because their music was featured throughout those videos, and then they had that association with Bam that they've never shed. And,
Boy, do you remember when Bam Margera was like a heartthrob?
I was just about to say I had a crush on Bam.
Now he doesn't look so great.
he's starting to look like his dad.
He's starting to turn into Phil.
Yeah.
I was never I never quite understood that relationship. That was my least favorite part of the Jackass stuff, was the Bam and Phil and April stuff.
Oh, I love that stuff. And also, arguably one of the bigger things to come from Jackass was the shopping cart stuff, and that was all from the CKY videos.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I just the like beating up Phil was always like a strange thing to me.
I loved that. It would come
Yeah.
out of nowhere. They would like surprise attack him. And then the uncle too.
Rest in peace, Don
Rest
Vito.
in peace, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Don V.
What?
I don't even know
that.
I don't even know.
That wasn't even my fault.
That was a strange time warp. Let me wow, that was a weird thing.
It knocked all of us out.
It did. I don't think Jocelyn got knocked out.
No, she did. Your screen turned into like a black square with the ring.
Not on my end. It was
Yeah,
just
I
you
never
two, and
lost
then y'all
Jocelyn.
switched.
Oh.
I lost you first, Cody, and then I went away.
God, as I was telling everyone that Don Vito was a creep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that all came out. Man. This is a
Imagine
strange
that, by the
trip.
way. Imagine this Philly dirtbag.
It was a real stunning reveal.
Yeah, I worked on my garage. That's going to be my new studio / everything room. So
It's coming together really quickly in your photos.
thanks. Yeah, we were doing the floor, and let me tell you, it is a pain in the ass. But I got to use this awesome tool. So I'm not really like a Tim Taylor tool man.
Do it yourself kind of guy.
You're just a tool, man.
I'm a tool man. No, I do like to do stuff myself, but I don't have all the stuff. You know, like I can't just go to my shed and get whatever.
You can rent them. You can go to Home Depot and rent tools.
Yeah, but this tool was pretty
Or
cheap.
Lowe's.
You can do it at both. It's okay.
Yeah. I just want
Whichever.
to plug Lowe's as well.
We're not getting any sponsorship money, so
Yeah. If they want to sponsor me, my renovation, I'll take whoever is coming. We do have a Lowe's card, so that's maybe a little better to
Yes.
get 5% off every purchase at Lowe's.
You would be excellent at that.
What was I trying to say? Oh yeah, this
Yes.
tool. So I have to lay the floor. I have to run these boards across the concrete, and to attach them, there's this tool called a powder actuated tool, and it's essentially a gun, like literally a gun. It's like it's got a barrel, and you put the nail in it, and it has a little like a plastic washer that holds it in, and then you put a 22 shell that just has gunpowder in it, and you put it down on the ground, and you hit it with a hammer, and it fires a gunshot and shoots a nail into the floor.
What?
Yeah, and it
Why don't you
smells
just
like
use a nail gun? Is that what you're describing? Is that a nail gun? Is that why
no,
it's called
different. Well, a nail gun is more for this has like a stop point on it. A nail gun doesn't. A nail gun is meant to like bury into the.
I see.
You could, I guess. That's way more expensive. This thing is fun to use, and it smells like fireworks after I'm done, and it's. But it's loud as hell, and it is literally, I guess, a gun.
That
I don't
shoots
know that
nails.
Yeah, but you have to hit it with a hammer. I mean, which is really what a gun is. So.
Right.
So I'm building it with a gun, I like to say. So
How very Texan of you.
I know. Anyway, anything happening this time, Cody? This week, movie news. That's a great segue. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah. So
Lowe's. Be sure to get your tools at Lowe's. By the way.
yeah, again, we're giving out free advertising. I think you should do that. But no, I think there were a couple bits of news. They moved. I don't remember the name of it. Is it just Godzilla versus?
I think it's Kong versus
Godzilla. Whatever name that movie has was
because I don't think they're calling him King Kong legally.
Yeah, maybe
because that belongs to Universal, and this is a Warner Brothers.
Gotcha. So I think it's Kong versus Godzilla.
It's Godzilla versus Kong. Sorry.
Oh, I was right. So okay. So you talked me out of being right. I don't
know. I don't remember.
Godzilla v Kong is coming out instead of during May. It's coming out in March on HBO Max and in theaters. So we will have that'll probably kick off the blockbuster season, I would have to imagine, which is interesting. I'll be interested to see. That's Adam Wingard directed it, so that's going to be interesting to see what he does with this movie. So if anyone out there doesn't know, Adam Wingard did The Guest, a movie that Jerrod and I are both pretty fond of. And he also did
Blair Witch, which really sucked.
Yeah, didn't he do You're Next as well?
I believe so. I don't remember. I just know he did Blair Witch, and he's done a TV show. Didn't he do He did You're Next. Sorry, I'm looking up his IMDb right now. He did You're Next, The Guest. And maybe he didn't. He did an episode of a TV show called Outcast, and he did Death Note, which I didn't see.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Look, I haven't liked any of those movies except for the first Godzilla one, which I thought was good.
Yeah.
But it was because that was Gareth Edwards who went on to do Rogue One after that, and it kind of treated.
Was this the one with 11?
Yeah, she's in the new one too.
No. The first Godzilla didn't have it. Had Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor.
Oh,
Johnson.
yeah. That wasn't King of the Monsters. Yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah, okay.
And Bryan Cranston in a tiny role.
Okay.
Elizabeth
I think they're all pretty bad.
I think that the first Godzilla is good. It's not great.
You mean like the 1950 version?
No, we're talking.
In true fashion, that's my favorite, of course.
Oh God!
I saw it at the Paramount in Austin. It's excellent. It's really good.
You know,
are you talking about like the Gojira?
Did you guys know this is
like
a little known fact that it's a metaphor for the atomic bomb? Did you guys know that?
What?
Yeah.
No,
it's not just a monster. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean it's this is the 2014 version, I think.
Sounds about right.
It was directed by Gareth Edwards, and it had Bryan Cranston had a very, very tiny role at the beginning, and then it had Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, this time playing husband and wife as opposed to playing brother and sister in Age of Ultron.
King of the Monsters sucked ass. That movie was very bad.
The thing about the first Godzilla. It's very much told as in my opinion, as something like a ground level story. Like it's the humans looking up at this force of nature. And then in King of the Monsters, it's like everything is at Godzilla's level. Mm-hmm. So it's so stupid. So it's a Godzilla movie. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible movie. Let's get that straight. But even those choices are not good. And I was not a big fan of Kong Skull Island either.
I wasn't either.
Which had some good stuff and then had some truly, truly terrible stuff. And I think the most terrible being Tom Hiddleston running through a poisonous gas cloud in dinosaur bones, slicing up bats with a katana.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds
am I getting
amazing.
that right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was not. Yeah, and then was that? Those are the only three, right, so far?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's like teased other things too, like Mothra.
Yeah. And so I think that was the only bit of news. There was also some casting news that happened with an Aaron Sorkin movie about Lucille Ball that's coming up, where Nicole Kidman was cast as Lucille, and
just call her Lucy. It's Lucy and Desi. That's what it is.
fine. Lucy and Desi. Nicole Kidman is Lucy, and Desi is being played
Javier Bardem.
by Javier Bardem, which caused a controversy on Latino Twitter.
That's interesting. I thought the controversy was about Nicole Kidman playing Lucy.
What
That's
was
the only one I
controversy
saw.
What was the controversy with Javier
Yeah.
Bardem? Because
He's
he's
Spanish.
Spanish
He's
instead
Spanish.
of Cuban.
Yeah, he's European, and he's not.
I see.
He's not. From Latin America. So.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, and that's the thing. Kiko was the one who told me about that. Kiko's has his ear to the ground on that kind of stuff, and he said that Latino Twitter was ablaze for people who are
Really
upset about it. Yeah,
That's interesting. I saw more people upset about Nicole Kidman.
You know what's interesting is that I don't know. Did either of you ever watch I Love Lucy regularly?
I mean, I did a lot when I was growing up.
As a kid, yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's so very old, and if you think about it, it's like pre-embargo Cuba. So like, that was when people like just would go to Cuba for like vacations, like it was the place to go, and like he was like the last like big Cuban star in the United States because of after like was it 61? The embargo started, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yeah, right.
that sounds about right.
Something like that. So yeah, it's been it's interesting that I mean I don't even know if there'd be I mean who's a Cuban actor? Is there any, I'm sure there's people of Cuban descent, but being
Off the top of my head,
born in Cuba, I don't know. I mean I know like there's singers that are Cuban. I mean
Andy
probably,
Garcia,
I don't think he'd make a good Desi Arnaz.
Raul Esparza, Pitbull.
that would be
But Pitbull's like that
amazing.
Miami Cuban though.
Faison Love is on this list of Wikipedia pages.
Really?
Faison Love is Cuban?
It says Cuban American.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he was born
Anyway.
in Cuba.
Interesting. Yeah, so it doesn't. I don't know. It's curious casting. I mean, I guess Nicole Kidman because she's a redhead is really the only thing. I don't know.
Everyone
know.
was hoping or saying it should be Deborah Messing, but I think if they're going for a more serious type of a film, then it makes sense that it's Nicole Kidman. She's a good actress, so.
I don't know. I'm a little afraid of it because I feel like this is the type of movie that Sorkin's going to be up his own ass about. I like, his Steve Jobs movie I thought was just, for me, it just did not work at all. And I don't like that kind. I don't like Sorkin dialogue coming from like real people.
But he didn't direct the Jobs
Like
movie,
modern
though.
people, I mean.
He
He
didn't
wrote it.
direct- Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm
that was
talking about the script.
Okay, yeah. That movie was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. And so when you're taking people who are kind of in the public eye, like, Trial of Chicago 7 is real people, but they're not like public figures and stuff. So when you're fabricating conversations like Jobs was, and I'm assuming this is going to be totally fabricating situations between Lucy and Desi, I really fear what kind of crazy monologues are going to come from Nicole Kidman as Lucy. I
mean,
know.
it's a crazy kind of origin of a lot of modern Hollywood, a lot of television, especially because Desilu Studios, I think, became. What did Desilu Studios become? It was like a lot that they had, and they produced Star Trek, and that was something that it became part of Paramount, so that's what it became. But it was something that was a huge force in early television, which I don't know that a lot of people know. I mean, that sitcom was pretty groundbreaking because it was the first, I think, interracial couple on TV. Being a Cuban American and an American. I mean, sorry, a Cuban and an American. And the first. I think it's something like the first show to show a toilet or something. I can't remember what it was.
Wow.
TV was weird as shit back then. But I grew up watching it. I was
they weren't allowed to say pregnant.
Yeah, she was expecting. I was
and of course, the separate beds is kind of common knowledge.
Yeah, I was talking to Cody about this the other day, and William Frawley, who's in I Love Lucy, plays Fred Mertz. He's the landlord, super of the building. I can't remember, or does he own the building? I forget. Fred and Ethel, they're best friends. He was born in the goddamn 1800s.
Oh
and he
my
was a
gosh.
TV star in the 50s.
That's crazy.
Like it's crazy to think that like there was this guy who was around in like the post World War II era. And he's on a TV star. Anyway, yeah. Okay. Anything else before we move on?
No. Let's
No?
get to it.
Fine. Fine. Let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have Promising Young Woman.
I was talking to Graham earlier, and he says there's a position opening up at head office. And don't freak out, but I want you to know I recommended you for it.
Why would you do that?
Cause you're sneaking up the joint with your sad little face.
But I like it here.
No, you don't.
No, I don't, but I like you. And I like, hello, working in a customer-facing role.
Great, can I get some?
No,
Cassie.
don't Cassie me, I'm fine. Gail, really.
Johnny said he saw you at the Fallout last week, said you were completely hammered and on your own. He was a little worried. I know it's none of my
You must have
business.
seen someone else, I've never been there.
Okay.
So this is a film that I talked a little bit about a couple weeks ago because it was on my top 10 list. Jocelyn, tell us about Promising Young Woman and what you thought of it.
Sure.
As our resident woman.
As a promising young woman myself.
I didn't say that.
Aw, too bad.
Which one of those
say
is
it.
incorrect?
I have a lot of self-confidence, so I'll be the first to say it. Well, I think the trailer created a lot of buzz, and it has you believe that this movie is sort of this revenge flick of Carey Mulligan, who goes to bars and pretends to be extremely inebriated, and then kind of waits for a man to take her home and take advantage of her before she kind of reveals that she is not in fact intoxicated, and then kind of seeks her revenge. And I'm a big, true crime person, podcasts and all that. And I know I'm a part of a couple groups. And when the trailer came out, these groups were really kind of aflutter with excitement because everyone was sort of not excited to see this, but I think it's an interesting idea to have, a woman kind of seeking revenge on these types of predators. And I was one of them. I was super excited to see this movie. So the movie kind of, as it progresses, there's a few different parts of it. It's not just this revenge, that she's having. There's a relationship that evolves. And I wouldn't call it a romantic comedy, but there is this sort of like a rom-com type of a feel in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
And so then, that all leads to this kind of unexpected twist ending, I think you would say. So from my perspective, I really had anticipated more of that revenge part of the movie and not this, romance thrown in the middle of it. And that's not to say I didn't like the romance. I thought that the relationship between the two, it's Bo Burnham and
Carey Mulligan.
Thank you. Yes. Bo Burnham. And that was like a really great part of the movie. It just didn't feel like it should be a part of the movie that I was expecting to see from the trailer. So I feel like there's like really kind of two different things that are going on. And then, not to kind of ruin it for anyone, but the ending, while I thought it was sort of an interesting take, I thought it kind of seemed a little lazy and cliche, in my opinion. And not only that, but it also kind of really sort of went against the sort of like female empowerment narrative that this movie had been kind of presented as. And again, I don't want to say I didn't like it just because I was expecting it to be a different movie. But I think that there was a lot going on, and I wish that they had maybe kind of separated these two ideas into two different films that I would have liked separately.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk later about that. But Cody, tell us what you thought.
Sure. So, I'm a little bit conflicted and torn here because I feel like there's a lot of good stuff within the confines of the movie. It's really a social commentary on a number of different things. I think most prevalent would be sort of like it's a Me Too / toxic masculinity kind of takedown, and I think that in doing so, it has a lot to say about that, especially in the buildup of the movie. Carey Mulligan's character, really gets to deliver some good kind of either monologues or scenes where she's one-on-one with one of the male characters in the movie, and I think she's really, really good in the movie. And I don't disagree with any point that the movie is trying to make. I actually think that it's all relevant. It's all stuff that needs to be kind of seen and talked about, and I take no issue with anything like that. I think that it fumbles the execution a number of times, and I think for me, the execution problems kind of sink the movie a little bit. I still think that it's good, but like Jocelyn, I think that the relationship between Carey Mulligan and Bo Burnham is the best part of the movie. I think Bo Burnham's great in this, and I think it's I've actually liked Bo Burnham for a long time. He started doing comedy when he was like something like
16?
19.
Yeah, I thought he was even younger than that.
Yeah, I think he had his first special like. He was a teenager when he had it, and he's a really great writer. And I loved 8th Grade. I thought that was a great movie. But to see him act in this performance, I would like to see a lot more from him after this. That being said, there's a couple things that bug me. Also, I want to say the music in the movie is really great. The score, and it kind of goes into this it has like you hear it a little bit in the trailer originally, but it's got this like really haunting string version of Britney Spears' "Toxic," and it's really cool the way that they weave it into it. Sort of like they did with was it Us, where
it was Us and they had I Got Five on it.
Yeah. Was it the same composer?
I don't believe so. I don't think so. It's I think it's
because this was Micah Levi, right? I think this one was.
I can't remember. Anyway,
so I like that element. Here's the thing about it that bugs me, and I don't know how to talk about this without spoiling it. So I think this might be a mild spoiler. So if you don't want to hear this, you may want to skip past this. But once you kind of figure out what this movie is doing with its male characters, the rest of the movie is relatively telegraphed, and I think that it gives away things that are supposed to be shocking, because it does the same thing with almost save for Clancy Brown. I think every male character in the movie is more or less the same, and you figure out what they're doing with that, and so it's sort of without giving anything away, really kind of ruins the Bo Burnham dynamic of everything, and I think by and large kind of sets the movie on a different course at that point. And I think the ending I think is really it's weird because it's messy, but it's also tied up very neatly. but I think the execution of it is messy. I don't like the ending of the movie at all, and the point it's trying to make in its ending. But beyond that specific thing, the real thing is, so there was a debate. So the best way I can describe this is it's very analogous to Hard Candy, if you've seen Hard Candy, which is a movie with Elliot Page, formerly Ellen Page, and Patrick Wilson, where basically Patrick Wilson is basically a predator looking for young girls. He gets basically kidnapped and tortured for preying on young girls. It's sort of like this revenge kind of thing. And I was talking with someone online, and
a young girl.
Jesus, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
So I was talking with someone online about this movie, and someone had made a comment that Hard Candy is a better movie, and I agree with that. And the thing is, even though this has a really smart commentary, I kind of think that this movie sort of eventually gets to a point where it devolves into revenge wish fulfillment. And I think the movie is trying to be more than that, but it gets blunted with the revenge wish fulfillment that it eventually gets into. And I feel like at that point, it kind of loses the momentum of the point it was trying to make by turning into that. So I think that it starts off as something different and then eventually gets to the point where that's what it is. And for me, that was disappointing.
See, I disagree with that because I feel like every choice and every kind of evolution it makes to a different sort of movie is intentional and part of the kind of misdirection of it. Well, maybe misdirection is a wrong word.
I think that's the right word.
But sort of it's making a point that I think it's kind of indicting the entire entertainment culture from like 1999 to 2009. And I say this because it mentions, there's a reference near the end of the movie, and this, if you know the movie that I'm talking about, you're gonna figure out what happens at the end of the movie. But it references a movie called Very Bad Things. If you remember this late 90s comedy with Jeremy Piven and Cameron Diaz, I believe, isn't it?
I remember this, yeah.
Anyway, so it sort of references that, and it shines a light, I think, on stuff like this that you look back on and you think about the exploitative nature of it and the idea that this is not a hero's story. These people wouldn't be the protagonists today. And the end of the movie kind of turns into that. And then there's a comeuppance for the people involved. And I think that's also in play with the soundtrack choices like Toxic, and it's especially the Paris Hilton song, because you have these kind of two super famous starlets as it were that were exploited and kind of treated as, what am I trying to say? Treated as sex objects, I guess, for the better part of their careers. So much so that Paris Hilton had a sex tape leaked. Maybe I'm reading into that a little more than I think.
Using career to describe Paris Hilton is probably not. I mean, Britney Spears, sure, but Paris Hilton wasn't. She wasn't a performer. She was.
Well, she was.
She was like one of the first people to be famous for being famous.
But I mean that if you really know, and this is, she just had a documentary come out on YouTube, I think earlier this or sometime last year. It's all an act. She doesn't really talk like that. She's not really a dummy. It's all a performance. And I think that is part of this. It's sort of reclaiming that sort of person that can be taken advantage of, a woman that can be taken advantage of specifically. And I mean, that's basically what Carey Mulligan's character is doing throughout the film. And I think the romantic comedy aspect of it in the middle, I mean, you probably know it's going to end up a little poisonous. I mean, if you're really being honest. I mean, I do agree with Cody that the thing that you're seeing is telegraphed pretty well. But I think that's kind of the point. I think it's kind of this shattering the myth of not all men or whatever, that maybe is the driving force behind this stuff. Judging someone for what they did in college, watching this happen, as it were, or not doing something, that's the indictment of these people, of these characters. And I think that is, I'm talking around it a lot, I know. I think that's what the movie is doing. And I thought it handled it really, really well. I do think there are some times that it gets a little, it's the movie thinks it's, holding its cards closer to the vest than it actually is. But I thought it was really, really good. I don't agree that Hard Candy is better. I think this is pretty of the moment. If you had to kind of put together a Me Too movie, so to speak, this is probably the closest you could get to something being kind of a social commentary and a bit of a revenge fantasy. I think is fair to say, because it is a revenge fantasy that appears to not work out all the way and then kind of does. But anyway, I liked it a lot. It was number 6 on my top 10, and I think the music is great. I think Carey Mulligan is great. I think Bo Burnham is really, really good. And I think there's some great little pop-up performances. I think Max Greenfield is really good, playing kind of the Max Greenfield caricature, I guess, at this point. Who else is in it?
Laverne Cox.
Laverne Cox is probably the only purely good character other than Carey Mulligan's parents.
And then Jennifer Coolidge and the guy
Jennifer
from
Coolidge,
Glow.
Clancy Brown is in it. I liked it quite a bit. Anyway, grades, Jocelyn.
I'm struggling with this one because I agree. I also loved all the performances, and I really, really liked the style of the movie. I think they did a great job of kind of showing that Carey Mulligan had sort of an Arrested Development from the early 2000s, and I don't know if I was the only one picking up on that. I think that's a point in the movie, is that she's kind of stopped developing. And that's really kind of, I really love that, because I think they did a good job of doing that really subtly. But I wish that it had just been maybe tighter. Like, I just feel like it got kind of murky along the way. Like they tried to do too much, and then the third act that you're describing is really, I think, sort of just kind of rushed through. And I think that they could have, maybe reduced the middle portion of it and done a better job at the, kind of letting the end play itself out. All that to say, I'm still giving it a B. I still liked it. I just maybe was expecting more.
I forgot to mention, we get another, is Allison?
Allison Brie.
Allison Brie only going to play super bitches now?
Why? Which one was she in where she was a super bitch?
Happiest Season.
Oh yeah, she's played the non-bitch for so long. She's always like the good girl, so maybe she just wants to do that.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like she's even that in Glow, which is her show, basically.
She's super nice in Glow.
No, she's like horribly flawed.
Oh,
in
that's
that
right.
show.
At the beginning, I forgot about how it started.
And as Trudy. God damn it! What is his last name? Yeah. Anyway, Cody.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to sum it up is I like the first 2 acts. I don't love the third act, and I think that there's enough in here to watch. I just wish that what I think is the best part of the movie wasn't completely sold out by the end. So, and I also think that it's a little bit too telegraphed for my taste. You can figure it out pretty quickly. And I think once you figure it out and it goes the place you think it's going to go, I think it's just disappointing. So I'm giving it a B-. I still think it's good, but I was expecting and hoping for a lot more.
I'm going to give it a B+. Like I said, it was on my top 10. It was number 6 on my list. I think it's a really timely movie, and it's very kind of, it's very dark and probably needed to be. But that is available now on VOD. Let's move on to our next movie, One Night in Miami.
I know when I'm being watched, Sam.
Well, your
Your paranoia is really cramping my style now.
Come on, just because you can't see bugs don't mean they ain't in the house, Sam.
Up on this dirty-ass roof.
Why don't you be like Bing Crosby about that shit, man, and accentuate the motherfucking positive? Look at this view.
I bet they're doing them for me. It's nice, ain't it, Malcolm?
Yeah, it's most definitely soothing, Cass. The air up here is cooler.
Far away from the prying eyes of your G-men.
Yeah, you joke all you want, Sam. I'm telling you, it's got worse since the tension between me and Mr. Muhammad. I met with a writer in New York a few weeks back. There were two guys following us through the airport. I swear it was the same two.
I thought you didn't trust writers.
Oh. This one was a brother, and well, this meeting was important. I figure I better start getting my life story documented in my own words while I can.
So this is a film based on a play of the same name about a fictional meeting between Muhammad Ali, at the time Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, singer Sam Cooke, and NFL/movie star Jim Brown. Cody, tell us about One Night in Miami and what you thought of it.
Sure. So it's exactly what you said. It's a fictionalized meeting that that takes place on the night of a big boxing match in Miami for Cassius Clay at the time, who, basically in the movie, Cassius Clay kind of announces to these two guys, that he's going to join the Nation of Islam as a friend of Malcolm X. And really, it basically all takes place in one like motel area. There's a couple outside places, but it's very much in the vein of another movie we talked about previously with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is like a acting ensemble, very talky piece that takes place mostly in one location. And I think the thing that people are going to talk about the most is the acting performances. There's two in particular that stand out. Leslie Odom Jr., who you may remember from Hamilton earlier or last year, who plays Sam Cooke, and Kingsley Ben-Adir, who plays Malcolm X, who I think are the two standouts. And I think both give really great performances, especially Kingsley Ben-Adir. I think he's really solid in the movie. And it kind of touches on a lot of interesting subjects. I think the most interesting stuff happens between the tension between Malcolm X and Sam Cooke in the movie, where Malcolm X believes that Sam should be, using his platform as a songwriter to enact social change and have commentary, and accuses Sam Cooke of sort of pandering to white audiences, basically, with his music. And I think that, for me, it's the same problem with that I had with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is it's another movie where it clearly feels like a play, and I don't think that there's any reason for this to exist as a film. I think it is, you had made a point, Jerrod, that Ma Rainey was not really even staged like a movie; it was staged like a play. And I kind of think that this is the same, too. I don't think that there's anything cinematic about the movie. There's one scene that takes place where it's like a flashback to a Sam Cooke concert in, I think it was like Philadelphia or something. And I think that scene is cinematic.
That scene is really good.
It's great. Yeah, it's the best scene in the movie, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one moment where it feels like, okay, well, I can see why this is a piece of cinema. But, when they're on the rooftop, when they're in the motel room, that to me, just, again, it feels like a play, and you got to be a big fan of that sort of play, long dialogue, long monologues, conversation thing to get, a lot out of the film. I will also say about it that I felt that it's really repetitive. I feel like it's the same, like, two conversations taking place over the course of an hour and a half, and I don't feel like it really ever goes anywhere. That being said, I think that it's got a lot of great, again, social commentary to it. I think the performances are really solid, but I didn't get a ton out of this.
Jocelyn, what about you?
Yeah, and I'm gonna add the Malcolm X performance, the Cassius Clay actor. I think especially when you're portraying someone who is as big as I'm sorry, not Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, who is such a big personality. I think that could have been done really. It could have been bad, and I think that it
Well,
was
yeah, I mean, yeah, Muhammad Ali's almost a caricature anyway,
exactly.
because he's so boastful
And
and
I feel like the
braggadocious.
performance just did a really nice job of
I liked that.
bringing
It's
him
Eli
to life.
Gorey. Eli Gorey is his name. He's in
Thank you.
Riverdale, and he was in Glow. And
Yeah, I was really surprised by that performance as well, as the two Cody also mentioned. So yes, the acting in this movie I think is really what it has going for it, because it does feel like it just goes in circles over and over. And then as you mentioned that scene, I think it was a Boston concert, but
oh yeah,
when we
maybe.
finally get there, really, I mean, the movie's almost over. So it's like finally something seems to be happening, and it's sort of that's it. That's the end of the movie. So while I like the performances, and I know that it's having some important discussions, I just really feel like it's super repetitive and just kind of goes around in circles the entire time.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree a little bit with Cody in that. So I think it's important to note this is directed by Regina King, actress, was in Watchmen, The Leftovers,
Oscar-winning actress.
Oh yeah. What was it for? For Ray?
No, it was for,
If Beale Street Could Talk,
yeah.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Ray was Jamie Foxx. Anyway, where was I at? Oh yeah, sorry. So I feel like it sheds the play feel better than Ma Rainey's Black Bottom did. It is still it's still a series of conversations in a kind of contrived way. Essentially, it boils down to Malcolm X trying to influence these two other men, Jim Brown and Sam Cooke. He's already has Cassius Clay kind of converting, joining the Nation of Islam, to use their voices to try to, to advance the cause of black people in the United States in 1963, which is obviously, in the past, it's the civil rights era. Anyway, so there's some really great conversation. I think probably the best of the monologues is the one between, or not monologues, I guess the exchanges of dialogue, is the Sam Cooke between him and Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. There's a story about Sam Cooke owning the Masters and all the money that he's made.
That's a great scene.
It's a great scene. I just wish there was more of that than there was of there's a lot of repetitiveness, yes, and there's a kind of a strange subplot with the bodyguards for Malcolm X, played by Lance Reddick, playing the part that he always plays, like the mysterious, well-spoken weirdo. And
he's in The Wire.
He's in John Wick. He's in what was that show with
Fringe?
Fringe, yes. Anyway, he
does it well.
I mean, you want a guy for that part, you get Lance Reddick. And I mean, I don't have a problem with Lance Reddick. There's kind of there's this strange detour at the beginning with where each character kind of comes into it. That's where I feel like it doesn't feel as much like a play. Those opening scenes where everyone kind of, you see them coming together. You see, Sam Cooke performing and being sabotaged. No, that's a different show. That's the Boston show. But he's he wants his band with him.
The audience is not happy with his performance.
Yeah. You see Jim Brown go home to his home in Georgia, and talks with Bo Bridges out of nowhere, by the way, who, is effusive with praise and then is just stunningly racist at the end of the conversation. You see Cassius Clay training with his trainers. One of them, Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos. then you see Malcolm X sort of talking about his problems with the Nation of Islam and how he'll be leaving to start his own organization. So that part really didn't feel like the play to me. That felt like a movie. But once they get into the hotel room, it's kind of a contrived thing to get them all together. And, obviously it's for the stage, so that's what it's meant to be. I feel like that probably could have been opened up more. I liked when they went to the store.
That's sad when going to the store is a huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
I was thinking of it in the movie too, where I'm like, oh great, they're going to the store.
That's the thing is it just open the scenes up, and I think it would have played a little better because it feels really cramped and contrived for no reason. I understand when they get into these arguments, and that keeps it going, but when they sit there and they're eating ice cream and stuff, it doesn't shed that play vibe enough. I mean, I think the dialogue is great. I think some of the exchanges are really, really good. And again, that scene with Sam Cooke performing, he basically loses his the sound system dies, and he performs an a cappella version of Working on the Chain Gang with the audience stomping along, and it's so good. It's such a good scene. Just wish there was more of that. And the movie opens up at the end again too, kind of following these guys in the next couple of years, the next months of their life, because Sam Cooke was shot a year later. So the only one surviving, I believe, is Jim Brown still. So Muhammad Ali died 4 years ago. Anyway, grades, Jocelyn. Or sorry, Cody.
Yeah, I think that another movie that I think is perfectly fine, that I didn't get a ton out of. Again, I think it's got great performances. I think it's got good conversations and dialogue. But when the same point is made 4 or 5 times, it starts to lose a little luster, I think. So I'm giving it a B-.
B-, Jocelyn.
Yeah, all the points, and I just wouldn't recommend it. I just think it's a little too slow, and I don't know. I found it a really boring. So C+.
Wow. I'm gonna give it a B. I liked it enough to recommend, and I think there's some really solid dialogue in here, and I think it sheds this is a play way better than Ma Rainey's Black Bottom did. But this is available now on Amazon Prime. Let's move on to our next movie, Locked Down.
Not only is everything not okay, nothing is okay.
Linda said she was planning to end our thing. Nobody wants to live alone. For 2 weeks, we are locked together here.
You think I'm so happy and normal?
No, I'd never accuse you of being happy and normal.
Because I'm not! Shaky ground.
I've been furloughed. Now there is literally zero purpose to my life. I'm going to get provisions.
We need milk, bread.
Wait, how many asses have you got?
Piss off.
The nice people that I fired, they were fired because of me. It's not about the virus, it's about who I am and what I do for a living.
You fired them well.
Thank you.
Is that a glass of wine?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
We have a situation, Paxton. All the major department stores are closing. They want everything out in the next 4 days.
We have a problem. At Harrods, we have $4 million worth of jewelry. Someone's gonna have to pack the valuables up.
I believe you are a man who can be trusted.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I can be trusted.
It's gonna have to be someone that we trust, so that means inevitably it's gonna be me.
This is a film shot during lockdown, starring Anne Hathaway, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and a bunch of kind of interesting cameos. Jocelyn, tell us about Locked Down and what you thought of it.
Sure. So a large part of this movie, or a large portion, is this couple who is locked down, as the title implies. So they are in London, and they are, I think they've decided that they're going to no longer be in a relationship before the movie begins. So now they're sort of just stuck together in this weird little limbo of not, being or planning to not be together once the lockdown is lifted. And so, the lockdown portion of the film is, what you might expect. A lot of people are going through. There's a lot of arguing. There's a lot of reverting back to previous tendencies, I guess, in their cases, one of the characters is a previous drug addict, and the other is a smoker. So they're both kind of struggling with that, I guess. Bless Anne Hathaway's heart, because I feel like this is one of her least. I love her. Like she does what she does. She just can't help being herself, I feel like, and she's just so sincere, and she really loves acting, is how I like to describe it. You can tell that she's just
oh my God,
loves acting. And
she did get an Oscar.
Yeah, she did. And
for singing, not acting.
I do love her Les Mis performance. I feel like that lended itself to her tendency to overact. And there's some parts in this movie where I was literally like holding my breath, because she was just like, going for it and delivering these like long soliloquies where I'm like, all right, Anne, you do your thing. And that's not to say it's bad. I think it's interesting. It's something that we all have been going through, during this crazy COVID time. So it's something that's relatable. It just goes on for too long, because I haven't even gotten to the point of the movie, but there's this heist that they have planned, because she's kind of a buyer, or she's in charge of like a luxury brand. She's a CEO. And her partner he has a criminal history. And so he's kind of trying to shed this like charge that he has on his record, and trying to kind of move on beyond that. And they kind of find a way to do both, and to kind of better their lives, I guess, in a way that she's sort of trying to justify to herself the whole movie. So we don't get into this heist until like really far into the movie. And then once we do get into the heist, I mean, that is when it gets exciting. That's not to say it's, perfectly done. There's a lot of things that I really didn't like about the heist portion of the movie, but I did think that it was at least more interesting than the lockdown portion of the movie. And then, I just feel like there's nothing really kind of groundbreaking here. There's some, interesting moments. There's some funny parts. And, as far as like movies that were made during COVID, I just feel like that's kind of where its niche is. That's just kind of, you can tell that that's sort of like how I don't know. It's like a product of the quarantine, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what it's called, right?
It is. But and I feel like maybe that is why it isn't as great as it could have been, maybe. But yeah, I think that there's some issues I have with a lot of it, but I still enjoyed it, if that makes sense.
Cody.
Yeah, this movie's insufferable. I really, really did not like it at all. I think that it starts at the top by having two like incredibly unlikable characters almost from the jump, and I think that I don't sense any really good chemistry between Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor, and I think that what Jocelyn may be describing as Anne Hathaway loves acting, I would refer to as Anne Hathaway is bad at acting. And I think that she overacts to a degree that I think you come to expect from Anne Hathaway's performances. She goes big, I'll give her that, but I don't really know that. There's moments where I think it's really good, and there's a moment where it feels like acting school. Like it's rough. I think it also, and I'll get into this in a minute, but I think it also falls under this umbrella of similar to On the Rocks, where it's like it's more like rich people problem movies. Where, like one of the things that's supposed to be a big moment is Anne Hathaway is the CEO and has to fire people over Zoom. And it's just like nobody, like, who is that relatable to watching this?
Yet you loved Marriage Story.
He was a fucking playwright. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but she was the star of a fucking network TV show too.
I mean, I see these as very different things.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
But anyway, I think that the movie is, in its construction, extremely confused about what it wants to be, because for half the movie, it's this half-baked relationship story about being locked down with someone that you are not with anymore. And then the other half, it just pivots into being a goddamn heist movie out of nowhere. And I think that the heist idea, and this is the other thing about the rich people problems, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why Anne Hathaway's character would do this. She's like the CEO about to get a giant promotion to run the East Coast of a giant company. Like, she's well-to-do, and then she decides she wants to put it all at risk to steal a diamond.
And she hates her job.
That just okay. So you put yourself at risk of going behind bars.
She wants to be an artist. Remember?
So you steal a diamond to do that naturally. You don't just
But I think that's the point of the movie. She's going back. She's like struggling with it.
Plus, the diamond is sold to apparently some sort of dictator. Yeah.
Dude, it's so half cooked, and I found the characters insufferable. I think that the dialogue is snappy sometimes. It doesn't have anything to say about relationships or COVID, I don't think. And it was apparently filmed during this weird time where you wore a mask, but not everyone wore a mask.
Yeah, that was odd too.
Which is weird because like they finally go into the department store and Anne Hathaway. And I think Chiwetel Ejiofor are wearing masks, but no one else is. It's very strange.
And then they take it off, and I was wondering about that too.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's eye-rollingly annoying. I think there is some sharp dialogue somewhere in there, but I found these characters to be completely unlikable, and I did not enjoy this at all.
I'm gonna land somewhere in the it was fine camp. I do think the movie is rather confused as to what it is.
Yeah.
Like Cody, you mentioned, it starts out as a kind of tale of this, relationship falling apart, but you're stuck in the same house. And then, it really does pivot very, very quickly to a heist. But that's actually the better part of the movie. Like that part of the movie is actually really enjoyable, I thought. Being the idea that this is something that, because of the situations of the COVID lockdown, that no one would ever really know it happened, which I thought was really, really fun and really, kind of brought the movie to life. But really, there's an hour and a half before that doesn't really lend itself to anything other than just sort of this relationship being sort of hinted at as what was bad and what was not bad, and the things that they liked and didn't like, and then a parade of kind of somewhat fun and somewhat interesting cameos. I think you get Ben Stiller, Ben Kingsley, I think has a really interesting role. Later you have Stephen Merchant, who I think is really funny in the movie. Mindy Kaling for some reason.
See, here's the thing about that. Sorry, but that Stephen Merchant scene is really funny and belongs in a different movie.
No, I know, and that's what I'm getting at, is that this heist movie part of it is this sort of madcap comedy at a certain point, but everything before that is this sort of half.
It's like half of it's about suicide in the first half of the movie. Like, that's
I know.
a huge, it's so weird.
It's a weird movie. I didn't know anything about it going in. I knew that it was filmed during the lockdown, and I knew that it was British, but that was it. And when it finally, when it started mentioning the diamond, there's a diamond, I'm like, is this going to turn into a heist movie? And then it did, and I was like, well, that part's better, but I don't understand why it started the way it did.
Well, was it the writer or the director of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I think kind of...
It's Doug Liman. It's Doug Liman who did he do Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
I know that...
I know he did. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it has some connection. And you definitely see that with their elevator confession things, which is one of my favorite parts of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when the movie shifts and they are confessing all of the things in their lives that they, were hiding. But I feel like this one is just trying to do that joke again, and it doesn't do it well.
But you can make that heist movie outside of COVID. It's almost as if they stuck two movies together.
I was thinking that too, but I do appreciate that this was done they were doing this because of the lockdown. Like, I don't think that necessarily you could make the same heist movie without the COVID. I just think I wish it would have gotten there quicker. Because the idea that there's all these sort of shortcuts that are being taken for security, I think is funny. And there's a joke about Edgar Allan Poe that I think is funny.
Oh God, I hated that shit.
Really? I thought it was funny enough. But there's I think there's an interesting heist story to be made about that, because there's, they're putting all this trust into Anne Hathaway because she's the CEO and she would never do this. And this diamond is essentially going to never ever be discovered to be fake and all this other stuff. That's an interesting point that the movie has. I don't know that, again, I don't know what it was doing for the first hour and a half before it got to something that was kind of fun and interesting.
Yes.
Look, dude, what kind of fucking rubes don't know the name Edgar Allan Poe? Like, it passes through like half a dozen people who have never heard that name before. It doesn't make any sense.
I was watching a video just recently where someone was going around England and asking like who America wanted their independence from, and like half of they were like children, and they were like, France.
But I think it's a decent. I think
it's believable that people won't.
He's an American writer. I think it's a fine enough joke. I think it's fine.
Also, why did we just like they make the name tag, just put Edgar Poe on the name tag, you fucking idiots. Like, it's so stupid.
I disagree, but I like that joke. Anyway, grades. Jocelyn.
I think I fall closer to Jerrod, where I was like, this is fine. I told myself that a couple times during the movie. Like, it's fine. It's something to watch. And I just wish the COVID part had been much shorter, and a lot of it kind of reduced. There's a lot of really unnecessary things, especially like some of Anne Hathaway's long soliloquies. So I'm giving it a B-.
Cody?
Yeah, I guess the heist part is better. I didn't enjoy either, but it also feels like a Frankenstein of a movie that's very, very confused. I give it a C-.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Joss on a B-. It's fine. It's fine enough.
45% on Rotten Tomatoes, fellas.
Okay. I don't know why you like Rotten Tomatoes. Is like the Bible to Cody.
Well, no, it's a critic aggregator, so it shows a general consensus of
Cody was
our peers.
Cody was watching the Wonder Woman score like a man scorned.
I like to go against the grain of what most people are, or thinking. I tend to, actually.
Well, consider it doesn't really. 45% is an average. So it's
it's not the best movie in the world, but it's not the worst. It's something to watch.
It's on HBO Max. It's an HBO Max original. So if you got nothing else to do, go watch it.
That's how I feel. Like, if you don't have anything else to do, it's fine.
All right, let's move on to our last movie, Bloody Hell.
Everyone has a past. Yeah, I know I do. What? Let's just say... Everybody down on the ground! Go. I'm not boring.
Hey, it's you!
I'm not famous.
Rex Cohen.
At least, not on purpose. I talk to myself. How much do you think they get for these, by the way? And I've been known to overreact. So, trying to escape my hell of a past only landed me somewhere much worse. Don't let them kill you. Who's them? And now, if I want to have a future, I've got one night to escape. It's a family. These total psychos.
So this is a horror comedy. I don't think it features anyone of note, but yeah. Cody, tell us about Bloody Hell and what you thought of it.
Yeah, I think that horror might be a little bit of a stretch. I think that it falls more under like a thriller kind of category. I don't think that it's particularly scary or anything like that. It falls under the category really of what we would call like a Fantastic Fest movie, where it's a genre movie that is kind of wacky and has a sense of humor to it. I didn't know much about it going into it. So basically, the premise is that there's this person who has an incident where he there's an incident that happens at a bank robbery where he ends up killing several people, goes to jail, decides he wants to, when he gets out of jail, go to Finland. And when he gets to Finland, he's basically kidnapped and kept into a basement. And that's basically the gist of it. I think this is an interesting movie because I feel like I really like this, like the swings that it takes, because I think it's a very like kinetic and energetic movie it's doing a lot. And I think sometimes to its detriment, because I think it's very ambitious. I think even the setup of the movie, they set it up where, there's the bank robbery, but you don't get all of the details, which it holds back. And then this guy has some kind of past, but you don't know what that is. And then you have the Finland stuff. And then you have the person getting kidnapped and what's up with the family. And I think it tries to do a lot, and it has a lot of that sort of, like a lot of the directing is a lot of cutbacks and cutaways and a lot of, non sequitur type stuff. And then one of the interesting elements of the movie is that Ben O'Toole, the lead actor, he essentially talks to himself, which is sort of manifesting itself in him, like actually physically being there for the movie. A decision that I didn't know if I liked it or not for a while. And then I think finally when they explained how it is, like how it came about, I think it started to click a little bit more and I appreciated it more. I don't think I had ever seen Ben O'Toole before, and I think he's the star of the show.
I told you a very in his prime Jason Lee vibe to him.
That's a good comparison. I think he's sort of like that, that sort of dry sarcasm, but big personality kind of feel to him. And I think the interactions, it's a great performance to consider that he's, playing against himself. And I think that he does a really good job at that element of it. I do think there are moments where I feel like it tries to do too much with some of the direction, with some of the non sequiturs. That being said, I think it's pretty funny. For the most part, I think a lot of the jokes really land. I think my favorite thing, there's a quick cutaway that has to do with Ben O'Toole's character dancing with an object. I think that it, like at the right time is very, very funny in that moment. I think that the one thing I don't love is that it forces a romance story in here that I feel is a little ill-fitting. And I think that, it's just one of the puzzle pieces that I feel like, they tried to make everything work. They really did take this like kitchen sink approach to making the film. And like I said, a lot of it can be a little bit exhausting and feel like the movie has a little bit of ADD. But for these kind of genre movies, it is, I think it's, when you consider how over the top that some of them can get and trying to, be edgy for the sake of being edgy, I actually think the movie is mostly successful. And I found myself having a pretty good time with it.
Yeah. Jocelyn, what about you?
No, I'm sorry. I wanted to like it. I got what it was trying to do, that it was trying to be this kind of like fun, edgy thing, and I just wasn't into it. I don't know if it was because there was just so much going on. Like it wasn't just the bank robbery, then it was like the horror film and going to Finland and the, split personality thing. It was just so much. And yeah, the lead is, he's good and he is kind of likable, but I don't know. It just wasn't appealing to me. There was too many things that weren't adding up as far as like, this is too ridiculous. Like in what world would, someone who kind of like helps in a bank robbery get imprisoned, and
oh, I did the same thing where like man, he had a really shitty lawyer.
Yeah,
There's something. God, what was the other?
And I hate trying to like be like, oh, this is unrealistic because the whole movie is so unrealistic.
What was the movie we talked about last time where I was like, this is not what would happen?
I know, I can't remember.
Anyway, I'm fine with this one because it's so over the top.
That was I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get past it because it kept taking me out of the movie, you know? Like I couldn't just like dive into this.
It was Pieces of a Woman where that woman was charged with manslaughter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think it's to that point. I think it's a totally different thing because Pieces of a Woman is trying to be this very serious drama.
Absolutely.
And this
one's not. This one's trying to have fun.
And that's why I think that the logic stuff doesn't really come into play into a movie this fucking.
Well, but if it takes you out of it, if you can't really like, you know, you can't really because and it's trying to that's the thing. That's how you know that it knows that it's ridiculous because it's always over explaining it. You know, it's always like. It has a response for the things that you're thinking, like, oh, why did I go to Finland? I threw a thing on a map and that's where it landed. It's like, yeah, because that's ridiculous and this is kind of silly.
But it does have some really great jokes for that, where one of the characters who's Finnish is overpronouncing the English words, and as she does it, like anything with a T-I-O-U-S, that would be shus, like a chus sound. She overpronounces it into T-I-O, like Tius. That's a weird explanation. Like she would say, instead of saying like,
satiated, I think was one of them.
Instead of saying like satiated, she would say satiated. And then Ben O'Toole's character corrects her later. And I thought that was just a really fun little moment. So look, the best comparison I can make for this movie is something like Evil Dead 2.
I was thinking, so that's what I was like. I was like, it's trying to be Army of Darkness.
Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. And, you know, this is Ash Campbell. Ben O'Toole is playing Ash Campbell, basically, in a way. This sort of put-upon hero who is incredibly sarcastic and, kind of crazy at the same time. I just had a lot of fun with this movie. I had no idea what to expect. And man, it was just a really, really fun time for me. There is some part. I don't think the ending. There's like a little epilogue, I guess you would call it. I don't really understand it. I think the romance stuff is a little forced, but it's kind of, I think it's funny enough that it doesn't really matter. It's just a lot of fun. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I had no idea what to expect. And normally I'm not a big fan of these genre things. Like you said, Cody, this is best referred to as a Fantastic Fest movie, I think. And that's a pretty apt descriptor, meaning that it's something kind of, there's a lot of gore. There's some horror elements to it. And there's a lot of snarky comedy. I just think it was really well done, and I was really surprised, and I really, really liked Ben O'Toole, who apparently has had some small roles in Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, or no, Dead Man Tells No Tales.
Is that the Jack Sparrow one? Like wasn't there like a Jack Sparrow spinoff?
No, what are you talking about?
I don't know.
He was always in them. This was the most recent one. It had.
That's the one that brought back Orlando Bloom, right?
Oh yeah, but like just in a tiny little role.
Okay. So it was so Jack Sparrow was the main character of that one instead of. Well, I don't fucking know. Who cares?
Yeah. They never made it. Anyway, and he was in Hacksaw Ridge, so he's had some small roles. But yeah, I mean, just really, really fun, really, really unexpectedly fun. Kind of felt a little like. Jocelyn, you may remember this era, this sort of late 90s Tarantino sarcasm ripoff thing, where everyone's kind of... It's like it's like a video. It's like that Fun Loving Criminals Scooby Snacks song video come to life, if that makes sense. That's about as 90s reference as I can get. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. Grades, Cody.
Yeah, I was teetering between a B and a B minus, and I think that that the thing that sort of teeters it downward a little is I really do think it is just a touch overstuffed. I think if it was cut back or restrained just a little bit, it might have gotten the extra edge. That being said, Ben O'Toole's great. I love this. I think the humor works more often than not, which with these movies it's usually the other way around. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you're willing to kind of go on the ride with it that it's taking you, I think you'll have a really good time. So I give it a B minus.
Jocelyn.
Yeah, I wanted to be surprised by this, but I just think it was trying too hard and I just could not get on board with it. So I'm going to give it a C.
Again, I had a lot of fun with it, so I'm going to give it a B plus. God damn it.
Damn.
Yeah, no, this is a lot of fun. It's available now.
I knew you would like. I had a feeling that you were going to really enjoy this one.
I was very, very surprised.
I think for a certain, not person, but I think that there's people who would really enjoy this movie. It's just.
I've been a fan of Evil Dead forever.
I am too. Do not. No, this is not. This is not Evil Dead territory.
This is very, very, very close to Evil Dead.
It is really working hard to try to be Evil Dead territory, but
to the point where he has an appendage.
I know it's like a cheap ripoff of Army of Darkness.
No.
What did you think about the payoff of the Misery thing?
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah,
I liked that a lot. And Misery is something I don't remember well. And then I did love the idea that his he's talking to himself, but the self he's talking to only knows as much as he knows.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not like some omniscient helper character.
And
I thought that was great.
Yeah,
no, that was great. Just the little touches like that I thought were really good. Isn't he wearing the same shirt at the end, like the same Misery shirt that James Caan was wearing?
Oh, I don't
like the plaid.
I didn't pay attention. Oh, okay, yeah. And there's stuff too. Like there's some funny stuff where he's looking for like a catchphrase to say before he kills someone and takes like 3 different takes of it and like interrupts himself and stuff. I think that kind of stuff is just really works in the movie.
Anyway, this is on VOD, correct? Yes. Yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. Next week, Cody, what's happening next week?
So next week we have a movie called Our Friend, starring Jason Segel, Dakota Johnson, and Casey Affleck.
Ooh. I didn't think Casey Affleck was
I was about to say.
Yeah, he is. And then we have a movie called that Jerrod, I sent the trailer to you because it's another Fantastic Fest-ish movie. It was actually supposed to come out as part of the midnight section of South by Southwest last year, called Psycho Gorman. Which I've seen get compared to Power Rangers and stuff like that. And then there's a documentary that was also supposed to come out at South by Southwest last year, directed by, hold on one second, I can't see that my ring light's in the way. Directed by Frank Oz, and it's called Derek Dalgadio's In and of Itself. Which I guess it's a bit of a documentary about this illusionist, but also an illusionist who's trying to answer the question of who am I? His personal journey expands to a collective experience that forces us to confront the boundaries of our own identities. So that's a Hulu movie.
Interesting.
But directed by Frank Oz.
Yeah, he hasn't directed a film in a long time. I want to say, was it In and Out? I can't remember the last movie Frank Oz directed.
That was a long
no. He did something with Marlon Brando, like one of Marlon Brando's last movies.
He directed in his last movie that I see here, other than Muppet Guys Talking, which he directed, I think.
Oh, I guess he directed. Yeah.
The last thing was the American remake of Death at a Funeral.
Oh yes, and he did the Stepford Wives.
Actually, he did the British Death at a Funeral. Sorry.
So he did Stepford Wives. The score was the Marlon Brando one I'm thinking of, where apparently he would not talk to Marlon Brando would not talk to Frank Oz.
Wasn't that a heist movie too?
Probably. I think he called him Miss Piggy, derogatorily.
You and I have a pretty big, I think, disagreement and gap on this, but I adore What About Bob, and that's Frank Oz.
No, I don't have I have no problem with What About Bob.
Well, I always wanted to show it for our old Alamo Drafthouse screenings, and you said no.
I never said no.
Yeah, you were like, nobody's going to show up to What About Bob?
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a crowd pleaser. I mean, I think it's a good movie, but
I think my argument was that we wanted to honor Bill Murray, and I think that's a good movie because it's not one that might make everyone's list, and so I love that movie.
Cody's picking fights over here.
I don't dislike the movie. I'm just saying it didn't seem like a draw. I embarrassed myself in front of Frank Oz at South by Southwest. I think I told this story on Quarren Stream, but it was after a Muppet Guys Talking screening, and
you did Miss Piggy's voice.
I did Fozzie, and it didn't go over well.
No,
I was like, Kermit, and they were like, eh. But then I was like, whew, tough room here. I felt like Fozzie, you know.
That was
He
good.
tells bad jokes. I thank you.
Yeah.
But then there was a point of, the whole. Do you see either of you see Muppet Guys Talking?
Yeah.
Okay, so
that was a movie.
I was sitting behind Robert Rodriguez as he was
writing
his notes for the Q&A on his phone during the screening.
Was he wearing one of those army hats?
Yes, he was.
Okay, good. No, it was a documentary about like Muppet performers, and I think it was before what's his name, Jerry? Shit, I forget his name. One of the guys died, but it was like their last one of their conversations. And it was talking about like the art of doing it, like how they lived it. And one of the things I've taken a major umbrage with in the modern era of Muppets. This is getting really fucking nerdy here.
Even that sentence is hilarious.
They're puppets, right?
Oh, here we go again. God damn it.
This was part of this introduction.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Before. Like, there's no denying that they're a puppet, right? Like, you can tell there's a hand in it. Well, they have the little rods on their arms to make them move. And, like, lately they've been digitally erasing them from the movies. I'm like, what's the fucking point? And I brought that up to them. I was like, what do you think about this? And they're like, I don't care. Like, what are you talking about? I don't give a shit. Oh,
no, I'm on board.
Nice.
I
am too. And
I love seeing the little rods because it made them more wacky.
I did too. And speaking of, was it Santos Montano, Quarren Stream guest who works on a Henson show, was right on board with me, and I was
totally
like, "Fuck
agree.
yes."
Yeah.
But yeah, Frank Oz could not give a shit.
That's huge because I mean, there's not a lot that makes up a Muppet, so that's like a big part of it. It's like seeing their little rods.
It's like, well, might as well like compute, like digitally erase the knuckles or the seams. Like, what else?
Or just make them all. Yeah, make them all digital. Then, I totally agree.
Frank Oz could not give a shit.
That's crazy to me. I got that Muppet. I got that Sesame Street book this week, and I love it.
Oh yeah. It's for your son.
No, it's for me.
All right. If you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. You can find us on Twitter @CineSnob, Facebook CineSnobNet. You can listen to our other shows, Quarren Stream, may it rest in peace, and Re-MCU. One day we'll record more episodes. We watched WandaVision, but we didn't talk about it. Did you watch all of WandaVision, Cody?
Just the first two. I haven't cracked a third yet.
Oh, anyway. Cody, you have the Ramble?
Yeah, the Ramble. Ramble Radio Tuesdays, Fridays. Good Willow Hunting on Thursdays. This week we're covering National Lampoon's Vacation.
Ooh, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, I've never seen it before. So
that's oh my gosh.
So
I saw that movie way too young,
which is weird because Jerry and Eddie for some reason like to watch things out of order to tell me to do. So I've seen Christmas Vacation. I have not seen Vacation.
And you've never seen European though.
Well, no. look, they're not exactly like watching Marvel movies.
Yeah,
like,
you don't
right, but also
watch them in order.
Also when Randy Quaid shows up, I'm sure it's a better experience if you've already seen Vacation, right?
Have you seen Vegas Vacation?
No.
Wow.
But anyway,
so Christmas was the first.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a regular Ramble Wednesdays, and then on Mondays, for those of you who may be on Twitch, on Jerry Rocha's Twitch, him and I are doing Monday Night Football or Football, where we're playing either Madden or FIFA every night at 10:30 p.m. Central Time. And I'm slaughtering him, so it's fun.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is a little more there's some backstory to Randy Quaid's character in the Vacation movie.
Well, and also there's the joke that the kids are different, right? In Christmas Vacation.
No, the movie never acknowledges that the kids are different.
Right, that's the joke, though, right? I mean, that is a joke.
It's not a joke as much as it is a thing. It's never really played as a joke. It's played as a joke in that Old Navy commercial that came out a few years ago, where they were all in it. If you remember that one, with like Anthony Michael Hall and Juliette Lewis, and it's not a joke. It's just a thing. Like it never acknowledges it ever. Like the only movie that acknowledges it is the one with Ed Helms.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's looking back at old photos and it's clearly Anthony Michael Hall. Anyway,
gotcha.
No, the Vacation that I was introduced to that movie way too young by my father. So, Jocelyn, what about you? How's that book coming?
Which one?
The Sesame Street one.
It's excellent.
Did
I
you
really
finish
love it. Yeah, it's like 50 life lessons, something like that. But the illustrations are from all different eras of Sesame Street. So they have like Elmo for certain lessons, and then they have like, that one that you pointed out was just really kind of close to being
it's like a propaganda poster, right?
Like
I forget what it was. What it said.
Why you don't use a wrench when, or
use
a blowtorch when a wrench will work or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's
it
is a very like workers' rights sort of thing. All right. Anything else before we go?
No, I don't think so.
All right. On that note, I am Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn Durand.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.